Our opening words this morning come from Sharon Wiley. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you beautiful, just the way you are. Here, you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here, nothing to prove to me, or to the person sitting next to you, or to the children, or to anyone. You don't have to try and be witty, or more quiet, or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you beautiful just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful just the way they are. You are extraordinary, each and every one of you, different from each in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let us worship together.
For our opening hymn this morning, it's number 347, Gather the Spirit. It is also, the words are printed in your bulletin, so everyone at home, sing along. Let's stand up.
Good morning. It is so good to see you all here this morning. It is so good to see some of you who haven't been able to be in the sanctuary before now. It's so good to welcome all of you who are joining us on Zoom this morning. I am Wendy Bell, the interim senior minister here at First Parish in Bedford, and so delighted to be with you on this day that is not quite rainy but keeps looking like it might. I have some announcements for you this morning, quite a few actually, beginning with an announcement that you hopefully already know because you got it in your email, but just in case you didn't, the church picnic, the all-church picnic that we were so excited about for today has been rescheduled for next Sunday, June 22nd, same time frame, because yesterday we were nearly certain, based on the weather forecast, that it was going to rain. And we were praying for it not to rain, and it's not raining. Now some of us are praying for it to rain so that we have a reason for not gathering this afternoon. In any case, continue praying for good weather for next Sunday, because that is when we are going to regather and enjoy our afternoon all-church picnic together. The good news is that that means there are lots of bagels to be eaten after church today. So for all of you who are here after the service, we will have coffee and bagels and cream cheese for you to enjoy, and I hope you also mostly enjoy being together. Oh, look, the sun. This is sort of just how this year has gone. Okay, well, also next Sunday, I do want to mention that before the picnic happens after church, it will be the coming of age service, which I imagine I've never been to. I'm very excited about. Every other church's coming of age service that I've been to has been wonderful. And I hope that you will be able to come and join us for that service next week as well. Let's see. Next Saturday at 7 p.m. on May 21st, we will have the Baroque Extravaganza, and there is a flyer about that in your order of service, and that is a fundraiser for First Parish, and the music will be wonderful, I'm sure, and we cannot wait to be there for that. I also want to update you on the current pledge drive, give you a sort of a sense of where we are. I don't have the most current numbers, but as of Friday, we were at about 50% of our goal in terms of number of people pledging, and we were at about 64% of our goal in terms of dollars raised. So I'm saying this to encourage you, if you haven't already turned in your pledge, it would be wonderful if you could try to do that this week. I know that we are waiting for those pledges to come in so that we can make our best guesses at putting together a budget. And so it's really important that you get those in as soon as possible if you are able to. The annual meeting, for which we need the budget, is planned for Sunday afternoon, June 12th. And so you should already, if you're a committee chair, you have been submitting your annual reports, and those will be put together, and you will hear about the annual meeting more soon when the warrant comes out. We also are going to have this year, and you'll hear more about this very soon, a special congregational meeting 2 weeks after that annual meeting on June 26th for the sole purpose of selecting a search committee for your next settled minister. And so you're going to hear a lot more in the coming week about the search committee selection process, about a campaign to reach out to all of you to talk to you and get some nominees from you. And so keep your eyes tuned to that email and let us know if you have any questions. If you don't hear something about that and want to, let us know. We don't want to miss anybody in that process. And finally, I have an announcement from the Earth Connections team about their June event. They're hoping you will join them for an Indigenous People of Concord walking tour. This will be held on June 4th at 10 a.m., and the tour will look at the history of Indigenous people in Concord, Muscataquad, and examine how they lived and what happened when two cultures collided after the English settlers arrived. Watch for an Anno list announcement with a sign-up form and payment details, and they hope that you can join them. I think that is all the announcements that I have for this morning, And so I'd like to invite you to join me in saying together our unison affirmation, first in English and then in Spanish. Please rise in body or in spirit to say the affirmation together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor, y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Please be seated.
Good morning. My name is Marge Heckman, and I'm a member of the lay pastoral team here at First Parish. And at this time in the service, I would like to invite anyone in the sanctuary who would like to light a candle to come forward. And after that, we will go to those on Zoom. And I will remain at the candle stand after the service, and if anyone would like to light a candle in silence. And I will light one last candle for all those joys and concerns that we hold in our hearts.
This is an excerpt from a guest opinion piece from the New York Times by Brad Stuhlberg entitled, "One Part of Your Life You Shouldn't Optimize." It's not just that extra work leaves us less time for socializing. In the age of COVID and social distancing, we have become, by necessity, risk-averse. As the boundaries between work and life have blurred, we've said no to social invitations to protect our time, as well as our mental and physical health. We've cut people out of our lives who hurt us or bring us down. And we've prioritized family and our closest friends over casual acquaintances. No doubt, there are some real benefits to this shrinkage of our social circles, and perhaps even in the culling of certain relationships. Saying yes to everyone and everything and overextending ourselves in the process may be a good habit to shed. Many of us during the pandemic have embraced solitary joys such as reading or gardening, and that is all well and good. But sometimes I wonder, are we saying no to that coffee or birthday party invitation because we genuinely don't want to do it, or because we are addicted to optimization and efficiency? I have spoken and written about heroic individualism, the term I use to describe the game of one-upsmanship that many of us engage in against both ourselves and others. In that mindset, measurable achievement is the main arbiter of success, and productivity is prioritized over people. To research my book on groundedness, I interviewed hundreds of people from different walks of life on what they value, how they spend their time, and their levels of fulfillment. And it seemed to me that heroic individualism was on the rise before COVID. Then it got a booster. Making new friends involves many inefficiencies. Hanging out for hours on end, buying or preparing food or drinks for people who you may or may not click with, traveling to unfamiliar places or homes at appointed times, even when you're not in the mood, commuting to the gym or the neighborhood park instead of working out at home, not to mention maintaining existing friendships. It also takes work and emotional investment without any guarantee of return. If your goal is optimization today, tomorrow, or this week, it almost always makes sense to push friendship building and maintenance down the list of priorities. But I'd suggest that the more important cost-benefit analysis to do is the longer-term one. If your goal is to be grounded and fulfilled over the course of a lifetime, then there is nothing more important than nurturing our essential bonds.
And here is a community where we hope to nurture those essential bonds among us, a place that sometimes our kids make us come because they promise their friends. And so I hope you will give generously to sustain and support this community. You can do so online at uubedford.org/donate. And you can also use text giving. It's pretty fun. It's pretty snazzy. I've done it. I would recommend it if you're into that type of thing. You can follow the instructions in your written or PDF order of service, as the case may be.
The second reading this morning is from B is for Beauty by Patricia Adams Farmer. In Adventure of Ideas, Alfred North Whitehead offers a view of beauty that can best be distilled into two words: intense harmony. That is, beauty is not just harmony. Beauty is not just intensity. Beauty is intense harmony, uniting what Kant tried to separate. Whitehead understands the centrality of beauty, not just the beauty of purple lilies and dragonflies, or the beauty of a Mahler symphony, a painting by Vermeer, or even the pure elegance of mathematics and science. Rather, Whitehead sees beauty as the guiding lure in every becoming moment. That is, it is built into the very teleology of the universe. We are lured forward in each moment by this urge toward beauty. That is, toward whatever intense harmony is possible in this fractured world. This means that beauty is not all sweetness and light, but an intensity of contrast, which is why diversity is so beautiful, and why actively resisting hate and bigotry is an act of beauty. That is why we seek to love each other in our differences and callings and personality quirks, and yes, political views too. Beauty tells us that the friction inherent in such contrasts can find a more intense harmony in beauty's wide and transforming embrace. And spirituality is all about transformation, isn't it?
As many of you know, my household that I have been living with purchased a home in Malden and moved last month. And as is the case with many houses, it needed some work before we could move in, which we accomplished a fair amount of before move-in, but there was still a lot to be done. And as you also may know, I'm part of an immigration accompaniment network in Boston, where we try to support people who are in detention or facing deportation in New England. And as you may or may not know, back in April, the governor of Texas decided that it was a good idea to send the migrants who were coming in more readily because of overturning a Trump policy, Title 42. He decided to send them to Washington, D.C. because they're Biden's problem. And this resulted in a large influx of people coming up to Washington, D.C. on buses from Texas with various degrees of support and or plans for what to do next. Some of those people were headed up to Maine, especially Congolese and Angolan communities, of which there are in some cities in Maine. And so it was that last weekend, I found myself having a house project day with my household that we had set aside to do some more painting and some unpacking and moving in type activities, but also simultaneously hosting an Angolan family in our home with whom we did not share a common language. They spoke Portuguese. We, in my household, do have some Spanish, including a native Spanish speaker, and Portuguese and Spanish have a lot in common, and they had been traveling up through Central America anyway to get to the U.S. border, so they had some Spanish, and we muddled along, but it wasn't very easy, and it was a bit stressful. And so it was that I found myself trying to paint my bathroom, but also trying to make sure that my child and this little girl she was playing with no common language, were able to do so and get along okay and be fed. And then our other friend contacted us and said, oh, she was someone else we had met through our immigration network and had hosted 3 years ago, and her family had just been able to come join her in the U.S., and she was so happy, and also she needed some furniture and dishes and things to help her cousin get settled. And did we have anything? We did. We just moved, and there was a dresser that wouldn't fit up our stairs. And so then I was also going to help her and get her dishes and blankets and various things that we had way too much of and had discovered in our move that we had too much of. And it was wonderful, and it was chaotic. It was a certain kind of beautiful chaos that I miss a bit in my life now. And when I went in and saw my kid's carpet covered in nail polish and glitter because she and her new friend had decided that that was a fun activity. I don't know quite how they decided, again, with no common language, but they were chattering away nonetheless in English and Portuguese at each other and having a glorious time. Luckily, the carpet needs to come up anyway. That's another project for the house. And that's so often how it is, I think, in community and in relationship. There's the stress and the hecticness, the inefficiencies and the frustrations and the challenges, and there's the absolute beauty of it, the sweetness of connecting regardless of language and of helping people get what they need and of offering people a meal on their long journey and a bed to sleep in so they won't be on the bus station floor. It used to be much more common that my house would have scenes like this before the pandemic. And it used to be much more common, I think, in general, for me to have some type of beautiful chaos in my life before the pandemic. I didn't realize how much I had missed this type of thing until recently. I was at a birthday gathering for a friend, and he's a musician, and so of course, the first night we were there, we all were singing around the campfire. And different people were taking turns, starting different songs that most of us knew, and someone started a song that I had sung many times in our immigration community and beyond, and also had sung here a few times with our sanctuary guest. And I had almost completely forgotten that that song even existed because I hadn't been singing it. And as soon as we started singing it, I felt the tears just rolling down my cheeks as I remembered. I miss so much the gatherings that we used to have in our accompaniment network. They were really the epitome of beautiful chaos. People gathered who spoke all kinds of different languages and trying to have a giant meeting in both English and Spanish and having food and making sure there were rides for people who needed rides and childcare for people who needed childcare, and there was always clothes for people who needed clothes and lawyers in some room off to the side meeting with people who needed lawyers, and a lot was always going on. And whenever I was in charge of part of it, which I usually was, I generally felt the whole evening was incredibly stressful, where you're just turning from one thing to the next, one crisis to the next. Someone's always asking you a question, and you're just going. And I didn't miss that part. I didn't miss that part at all, and you may know exactly what I mean when I say that. It wasn't just the pandemic that stopped us from gathering, because we had one Zoom gathering, and then we started planning a outdoor hybrid kind of gathering when things were in a slightly better place with cases and people were vaccinated, and that could have happened, but really the problem was nobody wanted to plan the gatherings. As much as I missed our being together and singing together and having all of the wonderful, beautiful chaos together, I didn't want to say, yeah, I'll plan it. I didn't want to be coordinating rides all over the Boston area and coordinating food and figuring out how much to get and finding a space. I'm tired. You're tired, aren't you? It was actually a parishioner, and I hope he doesn't mind being shouted out, but it was John McLean who sent me the first reading we heard from this morning, the article about what we should not optimize. And when I read it, I found myself having so many different thoughts and feelings. Because on the one hand, I really related to what it was saying. I felt like it's true. In some ways, I have prioritized efficiency and simplicity over relationality and possibility. And on the other hand, I felt I was resonating with another point he made about how it's good sometimes to cut down and focus on what's most important. And of course, there's the piece about how important it is to protect our health collectively and individually. Recently, I was visiting some friends, and I got in a conversation with my friends' parents, who are church people, not Unitarians, but church people. And they were asking me about my church, and they were talking about theirs, and one of them mentioned, "Gosh, I never realized how annoying it was to have to go to committee meetings until we got on Zoom. And now I think, oh boy, I don't want to ever have to go straight from work, or there's that awkward gap between work and the meeting, and then how are you going to get fed, and where are you going to go, and then you get home real late, and it's a pain. I like hopping on Zoom. You can do it really quick." And it's true. There are a lot of good practices we've gained in this time that we are in. And I am so grateful for this community's commitment to keeping the practices that help us make our community more accessible. I'm deeply grateful, especially to the tech volunteers who keep these services hybrid so that people can be with us virtually and people can be with us here in person, and we can hear each other share joys and sorrows and be connected. That in and of itself is a kind of beautiful chaos that we need. Because a beautiful chaos that isn't accessible just is not beautiful. And I think that beauty has a strong pull, as was mentioned in the second reading. I had never encountered this idea of beauty as a lure, a luring purpose of the universe, but I liked it. Now, Patricia Adams Farmer was drawing on Whitehead, the process philosopher who inspired process theology. And I remember that in seminary, I always struggled to wrap my head around process theology. It's a very complicated concept. But as I was trying to brush up on my process theology, as I explored this concept of beauty, I remembered why I liked it. One of the phrases I found in Whitehead was God as a poet of the world, using tender persuasion rather than force. The idea, of course, being that instead of an omnipotent God who makes things happen, that maybe God was more of a moving, changing life force, tenderly persuading us to be our better selves. I like that a lot, and it reminds me of one of my favorite metaphors, which is to think of God being like gravity, a natural force that we hardly notice that pulls us towards love and connection, just as gravity pulls us towards the largest object, in this case the earth. But what was so new to me was this idea that beauty might be teleological, which means part of the purpose of life itself. That the purpose of life itself, one of those purposes, an end, could be that intense harmony that Patricia Adams Farmer was writing about. That way that difference interplays. Like a little girl who speaks English and a little girl who speaks Portuguese, who've never met before, having a wonderful, glitterful, nail-polishful time in a room together. Or like a community that can share our tender joys and sorrows across space, connected by Zoom. A few weeks ago, some of the leaders in my accompaniment network gathered in a park in Brookline. And we practiced some singing, standing far apart from each other and masked, and we all set off together for the home of one of our other leaders. She had received a serious cancer diagnosis and had had to take a step back from our work, and we wanted to be together and we wanted to show her our love, and we definitely did not want to give her COVID. And so we decided we would go and sing to her from a distance. And we did. We stood and we sang a few songs, including the song, "Courage, My Friend, You Do Not Walk Alone," that many of you may recall because we sang it often with our sanctuary guest. And in some ways it felt incredibly inefficient because we probably were singing for 10 minutes maybe. For people all over the Boston area to gather in Brookline and practice songs just to sing to someone for 10 minutes. But it also meant everything in the world to be able to stand there and see our friend who we love and sing in the face of something that we cannot make better. And it was pretty simple. It didn't require vast amounts of coordination. And it was pretty accessible. It didn't require anyone to be indoors catching COVID. I will admit that my car did get towed because of where I parked in Brookline. But luckily, I was only 20 minutes late to the coming-of-age retreat that I had to get to after that. I was able to retrieve my car rather quickly because I had to drive youth to New Hampshire after that. I didn't enjoy that part of the beautiful chaos. But we got there. And we so often do get there, despite the hurdles and the challenges, the things that get in the way. And beyond, we have one of our principles, that is, we expect messiness, confusion, and discomfort, and we choose courage and trust. And there is so much messiness, confusion, and discomfort. And I also see so much choosing of courage and trust. Yes, we are tired. And yes, there are so many challenges these days. There are big, scary challenges, political and social realities that we have in our hearts. And there are all kinds of logistical challenges, and you don't know whether it's going to rain or not. And still, here we are, and we're doing it. And I was going to say, and now let's all go have a chaotic picnic. But instead I will say, next week, let's all go have a chaotic picnic. The important thing, I think, is to, as much as we can, let ourselves be lured by beauty. Not to try to force and push through and make it happen, but to let it happen. Because I know that we want to be together, and we want to have the beauty that comes with friction and difference and connection. Our beautiful chaos can be small scale. It can be wildly imperfect, and it must be as accessible as we can muster. So let us go forth and continue to make beautiful chaos together. One of my favorite ways to make beautiful chaos is to sing, as I mentioned. And so I want us to sing together this morning, and I know that Brad and Liz Connors, I think, are going to help me because this is a 3-part song. But don't be too scared. You probably know 2 of the parts already, because one is When the Saints Go Marching In, and the other is Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. So the first part you may or may not know, but this is one of those songs that I learned in this singing community that I was referencing, of us singing around the fire, and I think it's a good one for chaos. And so let's sing through. I'll teach the first part in case it's not as familiar, and then let's sing through all 3. And then we'll have some beautiful chaos where you pick a part and you sing it. And those of you who are with us virtually, you too should sing. Pick a part and sing it. Don't unmute. That might be a slightly too much chaos and less beauty, but do sing. So the first part of the song goes like this. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. Let's try that part together. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance. Hallelujah. And then it goes like this. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. All right, let's try that first one all together. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, how I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in, swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. So here's where it gets fun and chaotic.
They're one.
Oh, I was going to let them choose to increase the chaos. Want to assign?
Okay.
Assign.
Well, the division has to be them,
Yes,
them,
I agree. And all of that. Okay. So how about all of you, you can be sing, sing, sing with me. And then let's make the middle section here. They can be When the Saints with Liz. And then far over there can be Swing Low, Sweet Chariot with Brad. And then you get to choose whatever you like, lovely virtual congregants. Pick your favorite part.
So sing it twice through, and then one extra time you get to do whatever you want.
Like, all right. All right. I'll start with a round of ours, and then come in after.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to start all at the
So
same time.
you guys get to do it 3 times. and
We'll do it 3
twice.
times. All right. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. I'm gonna sing, sing, sing. I'm gonna dance, dance, dance. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, Beloveds, it is so okay to be tired. It is so okay to not want to. But let yourselves be drawn by beauty, drawn toward connection, toward the music, toward the diversity, drawn because that beautiful chaos is an end in and of itself. You are enough, and it is enough, just as we are.